It's time to rank every seasonal anime I've watched from worst to best from 2022. I'm going to put them in a tier list from S to F, S being the best, F being the worst. You know how it works. I'm only counting anime that started airing in 2022, specifically the winter, then going to the spring, then the summer, and then the fall. Overall, I watched 32 different anime that aired during 2022, and that doesn't even count all the anime that I watched that weren't seasonal. This list could probably be double in size, but I didn't really keep track of what I watched in 2022. And I really need to get a life, don't I? Despite that joke, I did enjoy watching a lot of these shows. And without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to place these anime in tiers for what I thought they were, rating wise. S is obviously the best, F is obviously the worst, and C is that middle ground where it's a pretty decent show. Anything that's a B or higher, I would definitely recommend watching. C's like the teetering point, and D's and F's are just guaranteed don't watch. They're not worth your time. For each of these anime, I will say what I rated the show. I'm going to timestamp the video with winter, spring, summer, and fall, and I'm going to go in order with how they aired. So the first season is the winter. I only watched 4 shows during this time frame. Not a lot of big shows, and looking back, there's not really a ton of shows that I'd go back and really watch either. Not a lot of big shows airing at this point. I didn't watch Attack on Titan Part 95 or whatever the heck it is, because I haven't even started watching Attack on Titan. First anime up is Demon Slayer, The Entertainment District. It's season 2. I really enjoyed Demon Slayer. It's easily an A tier anime for me. Fantastic animation. I like the villains a little bit more. Nice and short. Tengen was a cool Hashira. I'm gonna put it in A tier. I think it's deserving of that. I give it, I think, about an 8.75 out of 10. Next anime up is My Dress Up Darling. I didn't watch Dress Up Darling as it came out. I actually waited for it to be completely out, and completely out dubbed actually, because Amelie, or Monarch as she's sometimes known, her VTuber model, was voicing Marin, and I really like her as a voice actress. With that being said, going into Dress Up Darling, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I really thought Marin was just kind of going to be waifu bait, and people were hyping it up because she was so great, which she was. I really enjoyed the show. I liked seeing Gojo grow throughout it. I liked seeing him geek out and show off his interests with Hina dolls and sewing and whatnot. It was a very enjoyable show. I think Dress Up Darling deserves to be in that B tier. I ended up giving Dress Up Darling an 8 out of 10. It's fully deserving of such. Next anime up from the winter is How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom Part 2. If you really enjoyed history class growing up as a kid, I highly recommend watching How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. It kind of just feels like that. I don't know what it was. I enjoyed Part 2 more than Part 1. It's a very small margin, and I give the overall series around a 7.25 out of 10. So it's deserving of a C tier. Now, Rusty Your Bisco's up next. Now, I love the art style of Rusty Your Bisco, but the animation definitely left a lot to be desired. The story was cool until about halfway, 2/3 of the way through, and then the story just went completely down the drain. It is not worth watching at all. I was going to put it in D tier. It's like a 3.5 out of 10 at best. So I'm just putting it in F tier. It's not worth your time. The story just crumbles and gets horrible by the end. It's a show that I really wanted to love because it's such a cool concept, but it fell flat. Next up is spring. We're ramping up how much anime I watched during the seasons, with 10 this season. It's probably part of the reason why I got burnt out during the fall 2022 anime season, not really wanting to watch anime. I'm over that now, thankfully. I'm going to start limiting how much anime I watch during the seasons. First anime up is Spy Family. It's part 1 of Spy Family. I think it's the better part of Spy Family. Overall, Spy Family, I think it's A tier. The first part's very, very good. It's very great introduction. You love to see Lloyd. Anya's fantastic. I think Anya's better in this part than she is in the next part. It's just nice seeing everything come together for the first, I think it's 13 episodes. Just checked, it's 12. Now next up is Rising the Shield Hero Season 2. Very, very disappointing. I'm putting it in D tier. I think people hate on it a little too much because I think for the future of the show, it's helping out a lot. It is nice to see Raphtalia grow throughout it. And now Naofumi shouldn't have to rely on the Rage Shield at all anymore. And so if he's constantly relying on it, this season means nothing. Part of the reason why it sucked was literally the first half of season 2 was the rising of Risha. She was part of the Bow Heroes crew, and then she joins Naofumi's group in season 2. She's just not a good character. I wouldn't mind if she eased into the group, but she just dominated it. And I swear she was shown more than Naofumi, Raphtalia, and Philo all combined. Utter garbage. Shield Hero deserves to be a D tier. Next up is Shikamori is not just a cutie. It's the worst anime I've ever watched in my life. F tier. Shikamori is not anything special. She's not the best girl in a show literally named after her. I don't think she's a top 3 character within her show, which is embarrassing because the show is largely about her. And her boyfriend is horrible. Probably one of the worst characters ever. Can't do anything right and constantly has bad luck, which makes him ridiculously annoying and stupid. The worst show I've ever watched. It's not even up for debate for me. Easily F tier. I'd put it in trash tier. It's even worse than F. I legitimately do not think you can pay me to watch Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie again. Next show up is Komi Can't Communicate Season 2. I enjoyed it, but I think the novelty is wearing off of it. I want to see more growth from Komi. Not seeing her talk literally at all is kind of getting annoying. I don't mind it initially. I just need a little bit from her. I felt like she talked basically not at all throughout the entirety of the show. Again, still funny, it's still cute and adorable, but it is much lower than what I gave season 1, which is around an 8 out of 10. This one, I think I gave a 7 out of 10. It belongs in C tier. I think it's slightly worse than How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. Next anime up is Summertime Render. It's my favorite anime of the season. It goes right up in S tier. It's 10 out of 10 for me. I've done a full, I think it's 18-minute review on it, so go check that out if you're more interested in it. Keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time. I just love the story. I like the characters. Fight scenes are great. Everything about it's fantastic. 10 out of 10 for me. It's in my top 10 anime of all time. Next anime up is another banger anime. It's Tomodachi Game. I give it about an 8.25 out of 10, so it goes into B tier above My Dress Up Darling, just ever so slightly. Yuichi's a fantastic character within the show. Love him to death. I really hope I see a season 2 from it. It is another show that kind of kept you on the edge of your seat, always wondering who's the backstabber in the group, what's Yuichi gonna do next. And while the hide and seek arc wasn't the greatest, I didn't mind it. I think it definitely slowed down the potential that it had, because I was borderline gonna give it a high 8 before that arc. It kind of killed a lot of the momentum for it. Next anime up is Skeleton Knight in Another World. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10 in my review. Looking back on it, I think it's closer to about a 5 out of 10. So it's a D tier worthy anime. It's an isekai. It's funny. It's got moments where it's pretty cool. I think the animation lets it down at times. It's not the best. The story's kind of okay. Nothing special. Nothing about it is better than average, so I think 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 max is the ultimate perfect rating for it. I give it a 5 out of 10. I think it's worse than Rising the Shield Hero Season 2, which I gave it about a 6 out of 10. Not sure if I actually said that when I was talking about it. Next anime up is Love After World Domination. That's a C tier anime. I think it's slightly better than Komi Can't Communicate. It's in that push category, or even with How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. Very cute, very nice, wholesome to an extent. It's Power Rangers, but the good guy and the bad guy love each other and hang out and date each other. Very enjoyable. I'd actually recommend watching this. Watch this before Shikimori, and obviously don't watch Shikimori at all, period, because it's garbage. Also, I'm going to take any moment I possibly can to crap on Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie, because it's awful. But Love After World Domination was surprising that it was actually this enjoyable. Next anime up is Bubble. I gave it a 6.75 out of 10, if I remember correctly. It's on the verge of C tier, D tier. I'm going to put it at the very bottom of the C tier. Visually beautiful. It should probably win Animation of the Year and or Art Style of the Year, either of them. I definitely give it Animation of the Year. It's beautiful animation. Where it struggles is the story kind of falls flat and the characters fall a little flat. That's why I give it about 6.75. If it had better story, better characters, it'd definitely be up higher, but overall it kind of disappointed in that area. And the final anime from spring 2022 is Vampire in the Garden. Overall, I think it's a 6-episode anime. It's very difficult for me to get attached to any characters within 6 episodes. Story feels rushed, obviously, within that short time frame. It's an alright watch if you really want to watch something that's very quick late at night and get through the entire series, but overall it's a D tier rated anime for me, and it goes underneath Rising of the Shield Hero Season 2. Now we're on to this summer 2022 anime. I'm starting off with Classroom of the Elite Season 2. Loved Season 1, super hyped for it. It was among the first anime I watched, so I was really hyped for it. Part of the reason why I didn't like it as much was because I overhyped it in my mind, expecting great things from it. I think overall it was okay, but nothing special. It belongs in C tier. I'm going to put it above Komi, but underneath Love After World Domination. Overall, I give it like maybe a 7.25, 7 flat out of 10. I just really felt like Ainakoji didn't do anything that remarkable this season, and people were hyping him up to do much, much better things. The game on the boat ride home was ridiculously annoying and boring. The sports festival, not very entertaining at all. It got better towards the second half, where Kai, whatever her name is, who he ended up manipulating to work for him, got taken as a hostage. That was okay, but I don't think it was anything too special. He's just manipulating and using a completely broken girl from the get-go. So a bit disappointing Classroom Elite Season 2. I think it's a lot of setup for Season 3 as well, so I'm expecting better from it, but I'm a little bit more cautious about whether or not it's actually gonna be good or not. Next up is Rent a Girlfriend Season 2. Hated it, obviously. I didn't mind Season 1. Season 2 is garbage in my opinion. It goes in between Shikimori and Rusty Your Bisco. I, like most people, hate Kazuya. Kazuya ruins the entire show. I feel bad for Ruka to an extent, but at the same time, she's an idiot for falling in love with an idiot. I don't like Chizuru very much. The show is not good. I'm done done watching it. I'm not watching season 3. The series has dropped for me. I give it a 2 out of 10. It's unbearable anymore with how boring it is and how bad everything is. Next up is Licorice Recoil, a fantastic anime if you haven't watched it already. I love the color palettes they use. The art style is cool. I watched it subbed, and Chisato probably had the best voice actress performance the entire year. It's fantastic. I'm putting it underneath My Dress Up Darling in B tier. I give it about an 8 out of 10. I didn't super love the ending of it and how everything went down and the exposing of Licorice as a whole, but it is still a fantastic watch. So next up is Isekai Oji-san. It started airing this summer, but now we are in the winter of 2023 and it's still not done airing as of making this video on the 8th of January. And man, I'm really disappointed in it. There's been constant problems and constant pushbacks of the dates of it being released. It ruined a lot of the momentum it was getting, because it's a really good show and I am putting it into B tier. I'm putting it just above Dress Up Darling for now. It's right there. I think it's a push for which one's better. I think I'd give it an 8.25 out of 10 or right around an 8 out of 10. I loved it. Pleasantly surprised with it. Great animation. I like the story. It's ridiculously funny. Probably among the funniest anime I've watched. Luckily for you, if you haven't started watching it, you'll be able to watch all 13 episodes in one go and not be like me waiting for each episode for months on end, because it started in the summer. This one's My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex. I jokingly told one of my friends I was going to watch, and then he reminded me, showed me the notes that, hey, I'm supposed to be watching this show. So I added this one late. It's about a 5 out of 10. Put it in a D tier. There's definitely an interesting dynamic between the two kids. The first episode was extremely weird, and how they act towards one another, it kind of feels like that throughout the rest of the show, but nowhere near as harsh. I definitely hated the first episode. It's worse than Skeleton Knight in Another World, I would say. It's right around a 5 out of 10. The next anime up is Call of the Night. Hot take, I don't like Call of the Night. I give it a 5 out of 10. It's on par with Skeleton Knight in Another World. Everyone loves the vibe of the show. They like the characters. I don't like any of the characters really within the show. Nasuna's alright, but oftentimes she's going and doing her own thing and she's not really part of the story. I do not care for Ko. I don't care about nighttime. That's part of the reason why I don't like it. I don't give a shit about nighttime at all. It's not some times period where I start getting more lively or anything like that, so maybe that's part of the reason why I don't care about it. But I don't think anything about it was special besides sometimes setting the mood. The vibe was okay. Everything else I think was below average, just extremely boring and overhyped. So it's middle D tier for me. We still have 4 more anime to do in the summer. The next one up is The Maid I Hired Recently is Mysterious. It's garbage. I think I gave it a 3 for the heartwarming moments that it had. It's slightly better than Rent a Girlfriend, not by much. Actually, I think I gave it a 2.5 out of 10. It's just not very good. The Maid is kind of mysterious, but it's just kind of a wholesome reason why. I wouldn't recommend watching it. It's very boring. It's very repetitive conversations they have with one another. Art style is okay-ish, but that's not a reason why you should actually watch the show. Up to another heavy hitter that enters into S tier as well. It's Made in Abyss Season 2. Fantastic story. I didn't watch this as it came out. I waited for it to get fully dubbed, and man, was it beautiful. Finally, the kids are staying in one set layer of the abyss, learning the story of other people who made it there and now turn into hollows. It's beautiful, fantastic. Made in Abyss is a very underrated anime. It's 100% deserving of an S tier. 10 out of 10 for me. Go watch it if you have not started watching Made in Abyss. The next anime up is Cyberpunk Edge Runners. It's the whole reason why I started playing Cyberpunk 2077. I've already logged tons of hours into it. It's an A tier anime. I'm going to actually put it above Demon Slayer. It's about the same rating. I would give it a push between the two. I'd give the slight edge to Cyberpunk. Beautiful anime, beautiful visually, beautiful story. I've done a full review of that anime on my YouTube and what makes it so good. It's an anime that you should drop what you're doing and go watch. And finally, the last anime in this part for 2022 is Drifting Home. It's a movie. It's another anime that's got some beautiful effects. I think it's a movie that everybody will not love and they'll get annoyed by, but it's a B tier for me. Very bottom of B tier. I gave it a 7.75 out of 10. People complain that the kids are really annoying, but what do you expect from kids who are teleported out into the ocean in an abandoned apartment complex with no resources available really to them? You just expect them to get everything done and not complain constantly and cry and everything like that. I think it's unwarranted hate for it. Beautiful. I was thinking about doing a review for it, but I'm not planning on doing so anytime soon. I'd recommend giving it a try. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. And finally, to total up 32 different anime I watched during 2022, not including any non-seasonal anime. I watched 8 different shows during the fall of 2022. Some of them are still ongoing. kind of like Isekai Oji-san, which is only missing one more episode. But let's go through these. Chainsaw Man, kind of disappointed in it. I'm expecting much more, but apparently early on it's a little bit slower, and the more hype moments aren't until later. It also doesn't help the fact that I got spoiled for most of the stuff that will happen and some of the stuff that already happened, but I do still recognize that it was pretty good. I think it deserves B tier. I'll put it right next to Drifting Home. It's a push there. It's 7.75 out of 10 for both. I'm going to give a slight edge to Drifting Home because I enjoyed it more. Chainsaw Man I didn't get to enjoy as much because of those spoilers. Next up is My Hero Academia Season 6. I hated My Hero Academia Season 5. It was horrible, but it was building up a ton for Season 6. And thus far, My Hero Academia has been fantastic. The war arc has been great. There's still halfway to go, so this rating can change, but I'm putting My Hero Academia Season 6 in A tier. I'm not even the biggest My Hero Academia fan, but it's been great. I could definitely see it being more towards the top of B tier at some point. Thus far, it's been great. I've been enjoying it. Next anime up is Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out Season 2. I love the first half of it. The second half has been focusing much more on Hana's family. I'm not enjoying it as much. Also, not enjoying the fact that there hasn't been any type of growth between the two lovebirds, Shinichi and Hana. So I'm putting it in D tier right below Shield Hero. I'd give it the same rating of about a 6 out of 10. I am still watching it. I think there's 3 episodes left because I'm watching it dubbed, so I'm a little bit behind on it. An anime that's still going on as well is Eminence in Shadow. I've been really enjoying it. I think it's been a borderline sleeper pick. I think it's been better than Chainsaw Man. But where do I put it? I think it's literally on par with Licorice Recoil. I'm going to put it behind it for now. I could see it being slightly above. I do not think I'll put it above My Dress Up Darling or anything else. So I think at best it'll finish about an 8 out of 10. Sid's been fantastic. He's been extremely enjoyable. It has had some very memorable moments. Next up is Akiba Maid War. I'm going to put it in the top of C tier. Very wacky, weird, strange idea for an anime, but one that's extremely enjoyable. I liked Ranko, I liked the manager, and I even liked the main girl by the end. It's not an anime that you need to take deathly seriously. It's just a fun one to watch. Something that you will be entertained by. You might not love it, but you will definitely be entertained by watching it. Next anime we have up is Blue Lock. It's on the verge of A tier, but I'm going to put it on the very top of B tier. It's another anime that's still going on. It's only about halfway through, so it definitely has the potential to go up in A tier and surpass My Hero Academia. I've been loving it. I give it about an 8.25 out of 10. I love Bachira. I love Chiguri. I'm enjoying Isagi. And the anime is just great. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this anime as much as I have been. Spy Family Season 1 Part 2 is finally up, and I said before Season 1 was much better than Season 2, and I think there's a decent gap between the two. Still solid, but not great. I put it in the very bottom of V tier, right underneath Chainsaw Man. Overall, the school arc is pretty darn boring. Lloyd's carrying the show, I think, now. I wish Yor was utilized much more instead of being the laughing stock of many of the jokes throughout the show. Anya's repeating her jokes constantly, which is understandable, but she is a kid, but it's just getting kind of annoying, more so than anything. Is the show still good? Yes, it is, but I'm not enjoying as much. I feel like that honeymoon phase is now over for it, and I'm expecting more from it, but it's not really delivering on that front. And finally, one of the worst anime I watched this year is I somehow gotten stronger when I improved my farming related skills. Overall, not a good anime. I think I gave it about a 3 out of 10. It could be a little bit better, but I don't expect it to be much. The animation was pretty poor at times overall. Story's not very good. Characters aren't anything special and pretty bland overall. I was not expecting very much from the anime, but it didn't even really meet those expectations overall. And this is my list overall. What do you guys think? This is every seasonal anime I watched starting in winter 2022, going all the way through fall 2022. Obviously, there's still a couple going on, but I'm not waiting several more weeks for this to actually be finished. I know I missed some big anime like Attack on Titan, Bleach, 1000-Year Blood War. I haven't started either of those series yet. I haven't watched Mob Psycho Season 3. I do plan on doing that. I watch it with my brother though. And similarly, Kaguya-sama, I started watching it, but I haven't finished it yet. I did finish watching Bocchi the Rock. I'd probably put it S tier, A tier. I give it a 9 out of 10, but I ended up watching it in 2023, so I'm not counting it in this. So since this is finished, let's go through each tier very quickly, just to show which anime or which. So in F tier, the best thing in F tier is Rusty Your Bisco. Then I somehow gotten stronger when I improved my farming related skills. Then my recently hired maid is suspicious, or the maid I hired recently is mysterious. It goes either way. Rent a Girlfriend Season 2, which was garbage. And finally, Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie, which is the worst anime I've ever watched, all in F tier. In D tier, the best thing in D tier is Rising of the Shield Hero Season 2. Then Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out Season 2. Then Vampire in the Garden, Call of the Knights, Skeleton Knight in Another World. And then finally, My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex. In C tier is Akiba Maid War, How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom Part 2, Love After World Domination, Costume of the Elite Season 2, Komi Can't Communicate Season 2, and finally Bubble. The best thing in B tier is Blue Lock, then Tomodachi Game, Isekai Oji-san, My Dress-Up Darling, Licorice Recoil, Eminence in Shadow, Drifting Home, Chainsaw Man, and Spy Family Part 2. Best thing in A tier is Cyberpunk Edgerunners, then Demon Slayer Season 2, Spy Family Part 1, and then My Hero Academia Season 6. The best thing that I watched that aired during 2022 is Summertime Rendering at a 10 out of 10. Also, Made in Abyss Season 2 is also a 10 out of 10. Both of those are at S tier. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.